You are here because the ordinary explanations have already failed you, and something in your life has whispered that the veil is thinner than you were told. Strange synchronicities have brushed against your days like hidden messengers, numbers repeating, thoughts manifesting, coincidences that feel like orchestration. This is not random, this is not chance. You are standing at the threshold of a truth that has always been waiting for you, the moment when belief is no longer enough. Because trust in the unseen becomes the doorway. And once you really trust quantum physics, reality itself starts to bend in your favor. You are not imagining the patterns, though many have told you otherwise, convincing you that your mind plays tricks, or that coincidences are nothing more than chance. Yet the truth is you are not misled. You are awakening, and the very fabric of your days has begun to speak to you in ways too precise to dismiss. When you think of someone and they suddenly appear in your messages, when you glance at the clock and it reads the same repeating numbers again and again, when you let go of a worry only to find that the solution falls into your lap as if placed there, these are not random events. They are not accidents. They are glimpses of the field rearranging itself in response to the shift that has happened within you. Quantum physics whispers that observation does not just record reality, it shapes. And now, instead of being a passive watcher of events, you are participating in the collapse of possibilities into form. The improbable bends toward you because you no longer insist on clinging to the probable. This is why your life begins to feel like a series of winks from the universe. You walk into a bookstore and a book almost leaps from the shelf with the exact words you needed to read. You speak aloud a question in frustration, and within hours an answer comes through the voice of a stranger, or through the lyrics of a song, or through a sign on the side of the road. These events seem bizarre, almost playful, as though reality itself is conspiring to reassure you that you are on the right path. And in truth, it is, because once you trust the field begins to trust you back, revealing its hidden designs in ways that are impossible to explain with linear cause and effect. You are no longer inside the old paradigm where only what you can measure is considered real. You are now in the shimmering paradox, where the invisible shapes the visible, where energy precedes matter, and where the smallest shift in your awareness ripples outward to reorganize what happens in your day. The patterns you notice are not signs that you are slipping into fantasy. They are signs that you are finally stepping into reality. For reality has always been stranger, softer, more fluid than the rigid stories told to you in classrooms or institutions. You are not broken for noticing these things. You are awake, and the very strangeness of what you perceive is your validation. The paradox here is that the more you trust, the less effort you need to exert. Think of how often you once struggled, trying to control every outcome, exhausting yourself with planning, bracing for disappointment, trying to force life into the shape you believed it must take. Yet now, when you let go, doors open more easily. When you surrender, alignment happens faster than your effort ever produced. This is the quantum truth. The act of release is not weakness. It is the key that allows the improbable doorway to open. You are not abandoning your power when you let go. You are claiming it, because power is not force. It is resonance, and resonance cannot be manufactured through strain. Even the simplest examples in your daily life begin to reveal this shift. You misplace an item, and instead of tearing the house apart in panic, you breathe, trust, and within moments it appears in plain sight. You hesitate before sending a message, trust the timing instead of rushing it, and when you finally press send, the other person responds with uncanny readiness, as if they had been waiting. You worry about money, release the fear, and unexpectedly an opportunity arrives, a refund appears, or a gift is offered. Some would say these are coincidences, but deep within you know that word has become too small, too dull, too dismissive for what you are living. Coincidence is a mask for the mystery, and you no longer need to cover it. You are not alone in this awakening. All across the world, others are noticing similar ripples, similar patterns, similar whispers from the invisible. And the more you speak it aloud, the more you find that others nod with recognition, admitting they too feel the strange choreography at play. This collective recognition, is itself a sign of the field weaving a new layer of awareness across humanity. You are part of that weave. The patterns that visit you are not just personal. They are threads of a greater tapestry, urging you to remember your place within the whole. And so, the strangeness will continue. The more you notice, the more there is to notice. The more you trust, the more the universe reveals. At times it may overwhelm you, feeling like too much to hold, too impossible to be real. But the paradox is that your disbelief cannot stop it, only delay your recognition. The field is not waiting for your approval. It is only waiting for your openness. And every time you dare to say, "This is not random," this means something. You strengthen your role as a conscious participant in creation. The urgency here is not to collect signs like trophies or to boast of miracles. The urgency is to realize that each pattern is a reminder of who you are, the observer who shapes the observed, the consciousness that bends probability, the presence that calls the unseen into being. If you ignore these winks, life will still move, but you will miss the invitation. And this is not the time to miss it. You are alive in an era when the invisible is no longer hidden, when the sacred has begun to seep into the mundane. The patterns are proof. The strangeness is your signal, and the very fact that you are noticing means you have already stepped into your role. So let the weirdness continue. Let the signs multiply. Let the improbable arrive at your doorstep. You do not need to explain it. You only need to trust it, because the more you trust, the more the impossible becomes your daily companion. This is not magic in the old sense, nor science in the narrow sense. It is the meeting point of both, the paradox of being human and divine, matter and energy, particle and wave. And this is the life you are being called to live now. You are not imagining the pattern. You are the pattern itself, finally remembering how to recognize its reflection in everything around you. This is happening because you have released the grip of certainty, though for much of your life you were taught to cling to it as if it were your anchor, as if knowing how things should unfold was the only safety you could trust. But certainty was never safety. It was a cage. It was a script handed down by others who believed life could be controlled if only they pressed hard enough against its chaos. And yet you have begun to see through the illusion, to sense that the moment you loosen your hold on the need for answers, something altogether stranger and more alive rushes in. The paradox is that the less you demand order, the more order reveals itself, but not the brittle order of human plans, the luminous order of the field itself, weaving possibilities in patterns your mind could never have designed. Think of the times when you tried to force life into a shape, exhausting yourself in pursuit of the right outcome, only to feel as though you were pushing against a locked door. And then, the moment you surrendered, the moment you whispered to yourself, "Maybe it doesn't have to happen this way," a new door appeared, often one you could not see before. The relationship that wasn't working dissolved, and in that dissolution came a deeper connection than you could have imagined. The job you clung to slipped through your fingers, and in its absence you found a calling that had been waiting for you all along. The very things you feared losing turned out to be the weights that held you back, and only when you loosened your grip could your life begin to rearrange itself into something more aligned, more fluid, more extraordinary. This is not accident. It is the quantum truth moving through your daily life. In the world of particles, nothing exists in one fixed state until it is observed. The electron can be here and there, spinning and still, existing in superposition until the act of observation collapses it into one measurable form. So too in your life. Possibilities are everywhere, layered around you like invisible doors, waiting to be chosen. But the moment you grip too tightly, insisting that one outcome must be the only outcome, you collapse the field into limitation. When you release, when you step back from the demand for certainty, suddenly the field has space to breathe, and doors you could not imagine begin to appear. You are not losing control. You are remembering that control was never yours to hold, and that surrender is not weakness but participation in the vast intelligence that guides all things. You might notice this in the smallest way. You get caught in traffic, and instead of raging against the clock, you surrender to the delay, and somehow you arrive at the exact moment someone else needed to cross your path. You lose your way on a walk, and instead of spiraling into frustration, You open to the detour, and there you find a view, a message, a conversation that shifts your day. You let go of the obsession to send a message at the right time, and when you finally release and follow your intuition, you discover that the other person was waiting, perfectly aligned with your gesture. These are the subtle rewards of loosening your grip. Life becomes not a sequence of problems to solve, but a choreography to witness, a rhythm to dance with. And yet the mind resists. It tells you that letting go is dangerous, that without control everything will fall apart. But you are beginning to see that the opposite is true. The more tightly you hold, the more fragmented life becomes. The more you loosen, the more seamlessly it flows. Certainty is heavy, like carrying stones in your pocket, while trust is weightless, like opening your hands to the wind. The paradox is that when you cling, you suffer, but when you release, what is truly meant for you stays effortlessly. It is the counterfeit that falls away, not the treasure. And so the weirdness of your life is increasing, not because you are unstable, but because you are stable in a deeper truth. The truth that fluidity is the only ground, and change is the only constant. This surrender does not mean you are passive. On the contrary, it means you are more creative than ever, because when you stop trying to force one predetermined outcome, you allow the infinite to move through you, surprising you with pathways you could never have conceived. It is not your passivity that opens the field, but your willingness to trust it. And in that trust, your role is no longer to push against reality, but to attune to it, to listen for its subtle cues, to follow the nudges and whispers that lead you where you need to go. You become a participant in the dance rather than someone trying to choreograph every step. Perhaps you've already tasted this. Those moments when you said yes to an impulse that made no sense, and later discovered it led to exactly what you need. You took a different route home, only to bump into someone who changed your perspective. You lingered at a cafe a few minutes longer than planned, only to overhear the words that answered a question you carried silently. You followed the inexplicable urge to reach out to someone, only to learn they had been waiting for that call. These are not accidents. They are confirmations that surrender is intelligence, and intelligence is surrender. The more you release, the more perfectly you are guided. And so the urgency here is clear. The world as you once knew it was built upon the illusion of certainty, plans, timetables, guarantees, promises that tomorrow will be exactly as today. But that world is dissolving, not to leave you unsafe, but to reveal the truth that you are more deeply safe than you ever imagined, because you are part of a living field that has never stopped carrying you. To cling to certainty now is to resist the very evolution calling you forward. To release into trust is to step into your role in the unfolding shift of consciousness, a shift that demands not control but cooperation, not rigidity but resonance. This is why the weird things begin to happen, the synchronicities, the alignments, the doors that open and close without explanation. They are not punishments for letting go, but reward. They are the signs that life itself is alive, that the quantum field is listening, that you are being guided not by your grip, but by your trust. The less you hold, the more you are held. The less you force, the more you are carried. This is not the end of certainty, but the birth of something far greater, a certainty that does not come from knowing outcomes, but from knowing you belong to the mystery itself. And so I tell you again, this is happening because you have released the grip of certainty. And though it may feel unsettling, though your mind may still reach for its old patterns of control, your soul knows the truth. The moment you let go is the moment life finally has room to move through you. You are not losing your way. You are remembering that the way is not a straight line, but a living field, weaving you exactly where you need to be. This is your destiny, not to grip life into shape, but to open yourself so life can shape you. You are stepping into the recognition that thought is not private, though the world has long told you otherwise, convincing you that what moves within the silent chambers of your mind begins and ends with you. Yet now you are seeing the strangeness of it all, the uncanny timing, the impossible alignments that whisper something different, that your thoughts ripple outward, that the very moment you release them into the field they begin weaving with currents unseen, shaping the fabric of what unfolds around you. This is not fantasy. It is not wishful thinking. It is the hidden science of being, the living mystery of quantum reality responding to the vibrations you carry. When you think of someone and the phone lights up with their name. When you long for guidance and a phrase falls into your path with surgical precision. When your inner questions echo back through the mouths of strangers. These are not coincidence. They are confirmations that the boundary between thought and world is porous, that your mind is not contained inside your head, but extends into the same field that binds stars and particles, dreams and reality. At first it can feel eerie, as though reality is listening too closely, watching too intimately, as though the privacy you once believed in has dissolved, and in a way it has. But this is not invasion, it is communion. The field does not steal from you, it sings with you. It takes the frequency of your thought and translates it into the choreography of your life. Every resonance within you calls its mirror without you. This is why when you dwell on fear, you seem to meet circumstances that confirm it. When you carry gratitude, life rushes to give you more to be grateful for. What you think and what you live are not separate threads, but two strands of one braid, weaving back and forth so seamlessly you cannot tell where the inner ends and the outer begin. And so the paradox appears. The more personal you believe your thoughts to be, the more trapped you feel by them. But the more universal you recognize them to be, the more freedom they bring. You are not alone with your mind, yet this does not diminish you. It expands. You are not a prisoner of your thoughts. You are a transmitter of them. The field receives, and the field responds. You are both the sender and the receiver, the voice and the echo, the artist and the canvas. And once you trust this, the weirdness begins to feel less like accident and more like language, a living dialogue between your consciousness and the universe itself. You have already tasted this language in your daily life. That song that seemed to play just for you at the exact moment you needed it. That sudden encounter with someone who happened to have the very answer you were silently holding in your mind. That moment when a stranger's words matched the prayer you whispered the night before. Life does not speak to you in paragraphs or explanations. It speaks in resonance, in alignments too precise to be random. The more you notice, the more fluent you become. And the more fluent you become, the more the field entrusts you with this dialogue. Some call this synchronicity. Some call it intuition. Some call it manifestation. But beneath the names is the same truth. Your thoughts are not just yours. They are vibrations that enter the collective, rippling outward, touching others, calling forth encounters, shaping the unseen. And the miracle is that this influence is not bound by distance or time. You can think of someone across the world and they feel the pull. You can dream of something not yet lived and it begins forming in the future, folding back into the present. You can release a desire with trust, and in its release the field begins to assemble the pieces that will one day appear as opportunity. But do not mistake this for simple cause and effect. This is not the shallow logic of think positive and life will be positive. No, it is subtler, deeper, stranger than that. The field responds not to the surface of your thoughts, but to the resonance beneath them. You can say you are hopeful while vibrating with fear, and the fear will shape what comes. You can imagine abundance while clinging to lack, and lack will still echo back. The invitation here is not to decorate your mind with pretty affirmations, but to embody the resonance of what you already are. When you trust this, when you dare to align the frequency of your inner being with the truth you seek, reality has no choice but to sing in harmony. The urgency is that you can no longer afford to dismiss these moments as coincidence. Every time you do, you deny your own power. You deny your own participation in the creation of reality. You are not meant to stand outside the mystery, observing it as if it belongs to someone else. You are meant to recognize yourself as the mystery itself. This is why the alignments come, why the strange timings follow you, why the whispers in your mind echo into the world. They are not random accidents. They are reminders. Reminders that you are not a closed system. You are an open channel. Reminders that your role in the collective shift is not passive consumption, but active co-creation. And so you are called to a greater responsibility, not the responsibility of controlling every thought, which would only lead to exhaustion and fear, but the responsibility of remembering that what you nurture within yourself ripples outward. You do not need to police your mind. You only need to cultivate your resonance, to choose trust over doubt, openness over cynicism, surrender over control. For each time you do, you are not only shaping your own life, you are feeding the collective field with frequencies that lift others too. Your private thought is not private. It is a seed in the shared soil of consciousness, and from that soil blooms the future we are all about to inherit. This is why the weirdness will intensify, why your inner and outer will seem to blur more and more. It is not to unsettle you, but to confirm that you have stepped into your true role as transmitter and receiver, as participant in the cosmic dialogue. The boundaries dissolve because they were never real, and the moment you trust that, the mystery stops feeling frightening and begins feeling familiar. You are not being spied on by the universe. You are being spoken to. You are not being tested. You are being remembered. So let yourself trust the whisper of thought that guides you to call a friend, to change direction, to linger longer in a place you might have left. Let yourself believe that the signs are not trivial but profound. Let yourself know that every ripple matters, that every resonance creates, and most of all, let yourself feel the freedom in this truth. You are not alone inside your head, and you never were. The field has always been listening, not to punish you but to partner with you. And now that you know this, your role is clear. You are here to think not just for yourself, but for the whole. You are here to transmit frequencies that awaken, that uplift, that weave the invisible into form. This is the destiny you carry, not to keep your thoughts locked away but to let them flow, knowing the field will carry them farther than you could ever imagine. This is happening because you are dissolving the boundary between inner and outer. Though for most of your life you were taught that the two were separate worlds, that the mind was private and the universe was indifferent, that thoughts belonged inside and events belonged outside. Yet the more you trust, the more that illusion weakens, and you begin to see that what stirs within and what unfolds around you are not two stories but one continuous stream of meaning. The voice you hear in your mind, the whisper that rises in your heart, the nudge that comes like a faint intuition. These are not confined to you, they are the same current that arranges what you encounter in your day. The dream speaks into the waking spills into the dream, and you are not switching between separate realities but moving through one seamless field that has always been alive and responsive. At first it unsettles you, because you were raised to believe in separation, as if it were the ground of reality. You were told that what you think is invisible and what you see is visible, and that they have no bridge between them. But now the bridges are everywhere. You dream of water, and the next day the rain comes pouring down as though summoned. You carry a heavy thought, and soon you meet a conversation that mirrors it word for word. You wake with an image in your mind, and later you see it appear on a billboard, in a movie, in the chance unfolding of your afternoon. The veil between inside and outside is thinner than you were told, and the truth is that there has never been a veil at all. The paradox is that what you thought was private has always been shared, and what you believed was outside has always been a reflection of within. This is why life begins to feel like a mirror hall, showing you versions of yourself in every encounter. The person who frustrates you is reflecting the part of you that still resists its own healing. The stranger who shows kindness is echoing the compassion you carry quietly within. The synchronicity that startles you into wonder is nothing other than your own resonance weaving into form. It is not that the world is happening to you, it is that the world is happening with you, and the boundary between cause and effect blurs until you cannot tell where you end and where the universe begins. Daily life reveals this again and again if you are willing to look. You notice how your mood sets the tone for the world around you, how on days when you are peaceful, others seem kinder, traffic seems lighter, time feels slower, as if reality itself has softened. And on days when you carry anger or anxiety, life rushes to mirror it back through delays, conflicts, missteps, as though reality is shouting your inner weather into your outer landscape. At first this feels unfair, but soon you see the gift. For nothing stays hid. The field is honest, relentlessly honest, and it shows you in the outer what you carry in the inner, so that you can no longer pretend. This is not punishment, it is alignment. It is the universe speaking the language of reflection, so you can awaken to what you are vibrating. Even dreams are no longer just dreams. They bleed into your waking hours as prophecies, as metaphors, as reminders that your inner world is not a closed theater, but a rehearsal for what the field is preparing to reveal. A dream of reconciliation softens your heart, and the next day the person you dreamed of reaches out. A dream of loss shows you what you must release, and waking life brings you the courage to let go. The wall between night and day is not solid. It is porous, it is alive, and your consciousness flows through it like breath. The paradox is that as the boundary dissolves, you feel both smaller and larger at once. Smaller, because you realize you are not a separate entity sealed away from the cosmos, but larger because you realize you are inseparable from it. You are not lost in the immensity of the field. You are the field experiencing itself in human form. The thoughts in your mind are not just yours. They are strands of the larger conversation. The events in your life are not random. They are verses in the poem you are writing with existence. And the more you trust this, the more fluent you become in reading the reflections, in listening to the whispers, in participating in the dialogue that has always been happening. This is why your intuition sharpens. It is not that you are predicting the future. It is that you are remembering there is no future separate from you. You sense what is coming because it is already stirring in your inner field, and what stirs there inevitably ripples into the out. You feel drawn to go left instead of right, and in that choice you meet the encounter meant for you. You feel the urge to call someone, and discover they needed your voice at that precise moment. You feel uneasy before an event, and later realize your body was reading signals your mind had not yet decoded. You are not guessing, you are remembering that inner and outer have always been one. And so the urgency is to stop dismissing this as imagination or coincidence, to stop silencing the voice that tells you these reflections mean something, for they do. Every echo, every mirror, every synchronicity is an invitation, a doorway into a deeper intimacy with reality. To ignore them is to live half a life sealed off from the language of the field. To honor them is to step into your role as a conscious participant, to accept that you are not separate from the cosmos, but an expression of it. The more you surrender to this truth, the more natural it becomes. The weirdness stops feeling like weirdness and begins to feel like home. You no longer wonder if the dream that speaks to your waking day is real. You know it is. You no longer dismiss the reflection in another's eyes as chance. You see it as mess. You no longer treat your intuition as fanciful. You treat it as guidance. And in this way you dissolve the last remnants of the illusion of separation, stepping fully into the living paradox, that the inner and outer are not two but one. This is your initiation into the mirror of consciousness. You are not navigating a world outside of you. You are walking inside your own reflection. The dream is not separate from the day. The dream is the day in another language. The voice within you is not isolated. It is the same voice that arranges the events around you. And this is why you are here, to remember that you have never been alone inside your mind, nor abandoned in the outer world. You are the bridge, the channel, the meeting place where the universe folds in on itself to awake. This is your role in the collective shift, to live not as someone locked in separation, but as someone awake in unity. Awake to the strange and beautiful truth that life is always speaking, always reflecting, always remembering itself through you. You are discovering that time is no longer linear, though much of your life has been structured on the belief that it moves in a straight line. Past behind you, present beneath you, future ahead of you. But as you deepen into trust, you begin to notice the cracks in that story, the moments where time bends, loops, folds in on itself. You feel the memory of tomorrow before it arrives. You sense the outcome of something before the beginning has even unfolded. You experience déjà vu, not as confusion but as recognition, as if some part of you already walked the path you now stand upon. This is not madness. This is the quantum reality revealing itself through your lived experience. Time, as you were taught to believe it, is a convenience for the mind, but not the truth of the field. And now you are living in the paradox where yesterday, today, and tomorrow weave into one another like threads of a single tapestry, and you are the weaver who holds them all in your awareness. It begins subtly. You think of a conversation that hasn't happened yet, and when it finally occurs, the words match what you had already rehearsed in your inner world. You dream of an event, and weeks later you find yourself stepping into the exact scene. Déjà vu flooding you with the certainty that the future is not unfolding but remembering itself through you. You find answers before you encounter the questions, guidance before the need arises, comfort before the loss appears. These moments feel strange at first, but soon you see they are not interruptions of reality. They are glimpses of its true nature. Time does not flow like a river carrying you forward. Time exists like an ocean in which you can touch any wave, any current, any moment. The more you trust, the more fluid you become, and the more naturally you slip between moments, tasting past and future within the present. This is why sometimes the lessons arrive before the experience. You feel the heaviness of letting go before you even know what you must release. You sense the joy of a breakthrough before you can see the doorway that will deliver it. You grieve a change before it happens, and when it comes, your heart is already softened, already prepared. The paradox is that you are not learning step by step in linear order. You are learning in spirals, receiving the wisdom of what is coming even before it arrives. And when it does arrive, you realize you were already carrying the medicine. This is not anticipation in the ordinary sense. It is remembrance. For at the deepest level, you are not moving through time. Time is moving through you. Daily life reveals this in countless small ways. You look at the clock and see the same numbers repeating, as if time itself is tapping you on the shoulder. You reach for your phone seconds before the message arrives, not surprised when the person you were thinking of is the one reaching out. You arrive at a place too early or too late, and yet it is always the exact right moment for the encounter. The synchronicity, the unfolding. The calendar tells you one story, but the field tells you another. And the more you listen to the field, the less the calendar defines you, the less the clock imprisons you. You begin to live in kairos, the sacred timing of the universe, rather than chronos, the mechanical ticking of minutes. In kairos, everything is on time because everything happens at the precise frequency of your resonance. This does not mean you abandon responsibility or wander aimlessly through your day. It means you stop fighting with time as if it were your enemy, and you start moving with it as if it were your ally. You begin to trust that delays are not failures but alignments, that detours are not mistakes but preparations, that endings are not losses but openings. You start to see that rushing does not make things arrive faster. It only blinds you to the perfection of their arrival. And in this, the paradox becomes clear. When you stop demanding that life move according to your schedule, life delivers its miracles in timing more perfect than you could have designed. Even the memories of the past begin to shift. You recall something differently, and instead of doubting yourself, you realize that memory is not fixed, but fluid, that the past is still alive, still shifting in response to who you are becoming. You revisit an old wound and it feels lighter, as though the healing you embody now has rippled backward to soften what once felt unbearable. You find that by forgiving in the present, you are rewriting the past, not in your history books but in the resonance of your soul. Time is not a line you have walked. It is a field you are shaping with every breath. And so you begin to understand why prophets, visionaries, mystics, and dreamers across the ages spoke of seeing the future, of living beyond time, of accessing truths that ordinary logic could not explain. They were not gifted with something you lack. They simply trusted the permeability of time, the same permeability you are now experiencing. The future is not hidden from you. It is whispering to you constantly, in your intuition, in your dreams, in the déjà vu that makes you pause mid-step. The past is not locked away. It is shifting as you shift, dissolving old chains the more you embody freedom in the present. You are not bound in the prison of seconds and minutes. You are walking in eternity disguised as now, and here lies the urgency. You can no longer live as though time were against you, as though you were racing a clock or doomed by a history you cannot escape. To cling to the old illusion of time is to trap yourself in fear, in regret, in impatience. But to surrender to the truth of time's fluidity is to live as one already free, already whole, already guided. The delays no longer break you. The unknown no longer terrifies you. The repetition of numbers, dreams, and echoes no longer confuses you. They assure you, they tell you that you are not stumbling in the dark but walking in a pattern, a spiral, a design that holds all of your past, present, and future in one sacred weave. So let yourself feel it, fully, when the déjà vu comes. Let yourself honor the dreams that spill into the waking. Let yourself trust the moments when time feels like it folds, and you are both before and after at once. These are not glitches. They are glimpses, glimpses of your true nature, as one who is not bound by the clock but moving with the eternal. Glimpses of the role you carry in this collective shift, to awaken not only for yourself, but to remind others that the cage of linear time is an illusion, and freedom has always been here. You are not late, you are not early, you are exactly where you are meant to be, because in truth there is nowhere else you could be. Time is not a line you walk, it is the living field walking through you, and in trusting this, you step into the destiny that has already been waiting for you. This is happening because the old logic of cause and effect has dissolved. And though you were taught to believe that effort leads to outcome and striving secures reward, you are now seeing that life does not always bend to the weight of your pushing, but to the frequency of your being. The paradox is startling at first. You find that sometimes you work harder than ever, and yet the doors remain closed, while in other moments you release the struggle, step into alignment, and suddenly everything unfolds with ease, as if the universe has been waiting for you to simply tune to the right station. This is not laziness, nor is it luck. It is resonance, the invisible architecture by which reality responds not to what you do but to what you carry within you. And so you begin to notice the pattern. When you approach life burdened with doubt, frustration, and resistance, even the simplest task becomes heavy. Obstacles rise like walls, and every step feels like dragging a weight through mud. Yet when you shift your inner state, even slightly, when you breathe, soften, open to possibility, you find that life bends around you differently. People respond with kindness instead of indifference. Opportunities emerge without you hunting them. Synchronicities string together like pearls, leading you to exactly where you need to be. This is the quantum paradox, that the field is listening not to your effort, but to your vibration, not to your demands, but to your presence. It shows up in the most ordinary moments. You carry frustration into a room and feel the tension ripple through everyone without a word. You bring joy into a conversation and notice how easily laughter spreads, as if the atmosphere itself has changed. You hold gratitude in your heart while walking into a store, and the clerk who once seemed distant now greets you with warmth, offering unexpected help or even discounting what you buy. These are not coincidences. They are evidence of the subtle field responding to you, rearranging itself according to your resonance. The world is not as solid as you thought. It is liquid, mutable, and it bends around the tones you emit. And what a strange relief this brings, though it also terrifies the part of you that has worshipped control, because if reality responds not to how much you force but to how deeply you align, then all the striving, all the anxious planning, all the frantic running loses its justification. You are asked to stand still, to breathe, to trust that your state of being is the true magnet, not your endless doing. The old way said hustle more, fight harder, prove yourself, and only then will life reward you. The new way whispers, attune yourself, and the path will open without strain. And though this feels unnatural at first, as though you are betraying everything you were conditioned to believe, soon you see that it is more efficient than anything effort alone could ever accomplish. This is why sometimes you will notice that opportunities seem to arrive in clusters, when you are light, when you are playful, when you are fully yourself, without trying to be someone else. It is not that the world suddenly became generous. It is that you tuned to generosity, and so the field reflected it back. Likewise, when you sink into scarcity, fear, or resentment, you will notice how quickly life echoes those tones, surrounding you with lack, misunderstandings, and cold encounters. But rather than seeing this as punishment, you begin to recognize it as feedback, the mirror showing you not what you deserve, but what you are currently resonating. And the moment you shift, even slightly, the reflection shifts with you. This realization frees you from the tyranny of trying to control every external circumstance, because you see that the most powerful work is internal. You no longer exhaust yourself rearranging pieces on the surface of the game. Instead, you change the frequency that governs the entire board. And when you do, the pieces rearrange themselves. The paradox is that the less you do from force, the more is done through you. The less you chase, the more arrives. The less you demand, the more is given. Not because you sit idle, but because your actions arise from alignment rather than desperation. And aligned actions carry the weight of the whole universe behind them. Think of it like music. Two notes played together will either clash or harmonize depending on their frequency. When they harmonize, the sound carries farther, resonates deeper, stirs emotion in the listener. Your life is no different. When your inner state harmonizes with the field, your actions create ripples that extend far beyond what you can measure. When you are dissonant, forcing, pushing, your actions land flat, muffled, sometimes even resisted by the very reality you seek to change. The music of your life is not determined by how loudly you play, but by how well you choose. And here is the mystical truth. The frequency you emit is not about pretending to feel good when you don't, or masking your doubts with hollow affirmations. It is about authenticity. When you allow yourself to feel, to process, to be real, your frequency rises, not because you force it upward, but because you stop suppressing what is true. Resonance is born of truth, not pretend. This is why the moment you accept yourself fully, even in your flaws, life begins to mirror back support instead of resistance. The paradox is that authenticity, even when messy, vibrates higher than the false performance of perfection. So you begin to practice different. Instead of asking, what must I do to make this happen? You begin to ask, what frequency must I embody so that this naturally aligns? Instead of pushing harder, you soften deeper. Instead of strategizing endlessly, you listen inward. And to your surprise, life responds not with less but with more flow, more synchronicity, more grace. This is the secret hidden in plain sight. Reality does not bend to force. It bends to coherence, and coherence arises not from effort, but from presence. And this is your role in the collective shift, because as you embody this truth, you ripple it outward. Others feel it. They may not have words for it, but they sense the difference when they are near you. The calm, the clarity, the strange magnetism of someone no longer fighting the current, but flowing with it. You become a living demonstration that doing less can achieve more, that alignment is stronger than ambition, that resonance is the true power, and in this way you invite others to drop their masks, to release their struggle, to remember that they too are transmitters of reality. The urgency here is simple. The old paradigm of force and control is crumbling, and those who cling to it will feel only exhaustion, despair, and resistance. But you are not here to collapse under that weight. You are here to remember the quantum truth, that outcomes follow resonance, that the field mirrors your being, that the most powerful thing you can do is not to do more, but to be fully aligned. And as you embody this, the weirdness of life intensifies, not as chaos but as miracle. You will find doors where walls once stood, rivers parting where roads once ended, synchronicities stringing together in such perfection that you cannot deny the intelligence moving through it all. So let yourself trust it fully. Let yourself release the belief that life must be hard to be meaningful, that only through struggle do you earn reward. Let yourself embody the paradox that when you stop pushing, more. Let yourself remember that you are not a machine grinding against time. You are a tuning fork, vibrating with the universe. And when you vibrate in coherence, the field does not resist you, it sings with you. This is your hidden mastery, and it has always been waiting for you to claim it. You are awakening to the truth that you are not becoming something new. You are remembering what you already are. And though the mind insists on a story of progress, of achievement, of self-improvement, the deeper truth that begins to pulse within you is that nothing essential is missing. Nothing essential has ever been broken. The weirdness you feel is not because you are changing into a stranger. It is because you are shedding the layers that kept you from recognizing yourself. It is like looking into a mirror for the first time after years of dust clouding its surface. The reflection was always there, but the veil had to fall away. And as it does, you do not feel as though you are constructing a new identity. You feel as though you are arriving home to an ancient one. At first, this remembrance unsettles you, because it contradicts the rhythm of the world you were raised in. Everywhere you look, you are told to become more, to strive harder, to transform yourself into something else in order to be worthy. Yet when you begin to trust the quantum truth, you realize that becoming is only remembering and striving is only delaying. The more authentic you allow yourself to be, the more reality bends around you, greeting you not with resistance, but with recognition. Life opens not because you mastered another performance, but because you finally stopped performing. And in this rawness, in this nakedness of being, synchronicities multiply, connections deepen, opportunities emerge as if they have been waiting for you all along. You notice it in the smallest interactions. The moment you stop pretending to be agreeable when you feel otherwise, you attract people who resonate with your honesty. The moment you stop pretending to enjoy what drains you, opportunities arise that align with your true joy. The moment you stop holding back your voice, conversations begin to flow toward the very truths you were afraid to speak. It feels uncanny, almost magical, and yet it is the most natural thing in the world. The field mirrors your essence, not your disguise. And when your essence is revealed, life no longer resists. It embraces you like an old friend. This is why masks eventually grow heavy. You can carry them for years, even decades, and yet the more you wear them, the more exhausted you become, because the field cannot harmonize with a false signal. You attract what matches the mask, but because the mask is not truly you, everything you attract feels empty, fragile, fleeting. You gain the success, but it tastes hollow. You form the connection, but it feels thin. You walk the path, but it leads to a place that does not feel like home. And then the breakdown comes, the collapse of the mask, the falling away of the persona, and though it feels devastating at first, it is in fact the greatest liberation. For when the mask falls, the field can finally respond to your true frequency, and everything that arrives from that point forward carries the weight of authenticity. The paradox here is striking. You are not becoming someone greater. You are daring to be smaller, simpler, more real. And yet in that simplicity, you radiate more power than you ever did in the performance. Think of the child who laughs without caring how the world perceives them, who sings without worrying about the notes, who plays without wondering if it matters. That child vibrates with a resonance that moves hearts, inspires rooms, shifts energy, not because they are striving, but because they are free. You are not becoming something you have never been. You are returning to that freedom, peeling away the layers of fear, expectation, and conditioning that made you forget. And this remembrance is not only personal, it is collective. As you return to your essence, you begin to notice how your presence gives others permission to do the same. When you drop the mask, others feel safe to drop theirs. When you speak truth, others dare to voice their own. When you walk in authenticity, the world rearranges itself around your example. This is why the weird synchronicities intensify. Not only is the field responding to your truth, but so are the people within it. The resonance multiplies, and suddenly entire communities shift because one person remembered themselves. This is your quiet yet immense role in the collective awakening, to remember, and in remembering to remind. You will feel it in your body too, the exhaustion of forcing, of pretending, of wearing the mask, dissolves into energy you didn't know you had. Illnesses soften, symptoms lighten, vitality returns, not because you fixed yourself, but because the energy once consumed by falsehood is freed for wholeness. You realize the greatest drain on your system was never the work you did, but the weight of pretending to be someone else while doing it. And when you stop pretending, the energy flows again like a river released from a dam. And here lies the urgency. You cannot afford to keep pretending. The field is too responsive now, the times too accelerated, the old masks too brittle. The more you cling to them, the more life will shake them loose, sometimes gently, sometimes violently. And while the ego fears this unraveling, your soul welcomes it, for it knows the truth, that you are not losing yourself, you are being revealed. The collapse of the mask is not your destruction, It is your unveiling. So let yourself feel the strangeness of it. Let yourself honor the weird synchronicities that gather around your authenticity, the uncanny timing of life that greets you when you stop pretending, the doors that open not because you forced them, but because you finally showed up as yourself. Let yourself taste the paradox that by daring to be simple, you become radiant, and by daring to be vulnerable, you become unshakable. The field does not need your performance. It needs your essence, and when your essence shines, the world reflects it back with such accuracy that you cannot help but recognize your own face in everything you encounter. This is the invitation you are living now, to stop striving to become, and instead to remember that you already are, to see that the masks were never protection, only delay, to trust that authenticity is not weakness, but the most powerful frequency you can carry, and to realize that the synchronicities, the connections, the opportunities that flood your path when you stand in your truth, are not accidents. They are confirmations that life itself has been waiting for you to finally arrive. You are not unfinished. You are not incomplete. You are not broken. You are the one who has been covered, concealed, delayed, and now as the layers fall, you see that you were never becoming. You are always remembering. This is your unveiling, and it is happening now. This is happening because you have crossed from theory into trust. And though for years you may have read the words, studied the teachings, repeated the affirmations, it was always like pressing your hand against the glass of a window. You could see the truth, but not yet step into it. Now the glass has shattered, and the air of the quantum field surrounds you, alive, electric, undeniable. The equations are no longer abstract concepts. The philosophies are no longer distant ideals. They are lived, breathed, embodied realities. You are discovering that quantum physics is not a subject in a textbook, but the texture of your own existence. And when you finally surrender into this knowing, the weirdness you have experienced intensifies into clarity. You realize you are not merely reading about the observer and the observed. You are both, at once, now. And this is why reality feels so uncanny, so orchestrated, so alive. The coincidences you once dismissed now arrive too precisely to ignore. The whispers of intuition are confirmed again and again until they become your compass rather than your curiosity. The people you meet appear as if placed deliberately on your path. The timing of events unfolds with such impossible precision that you begin to understand destiny is not rigid, but woven moment by moment with your trust in the unseen. You used to think the quantum field was something external, something you might learn to access, but now you see it is what you are made of, what you are moving through, and what is constantly responding to you. The veil between you and it dissolves, because the separation was only ever imagined. It is here you face one of the great paradoxes, that the more you trust, the less you need to control, and yet the more aligned your life becomes. Control was always an attempt to grasp at certainty in a reality designed to be fluid. But when you release the grip, when you dare to trust that the unseen knows the way better than your limited logic, the path reveals itself in steps that feel both mysterious and inevitable. It is as if the universe has been waiting for you to relax into its current, to let the river carry you instead of splashing frantically against it. And the moment you do, you feel the momentum that was always there waiting for your surrender. You find yourself in moments of eerie perfection, arriving at a place by accident only to meet the exact person you needed, opening a book at random, and finding the phrase that answers your question, speaking your truth aloud, only to hear the echo of agreement in someone else's voice. These are not tricks, they are invitations. Invitations for you to remember that trust is the bridge between thought and manifestation, between desire and fulfillment. Without trust, the bridge collapses into doubt, and reality fragments into With trust, the bridge becomes solid, and you walk across it into the unfolding of your destiny. And here is the strangest part. The weirdness that once unsettled you now becomes your compass. The improbable synchronicity, the uncanny timing, the feeling of being guided. These are not glitches in reality, but confirmations that you are aligned with it. You stop asking, "Is this real?" and begin to ask, How can I align even deep? You stop fearing the unknown and begin to recognize it as the womb of all possibility, the place where miracles gestate before they arrive. You realize the unknown is not a void but a fullness too vast for your mind to grasp. And when you trust it, it delivers not chaos, but orchestration, not randomness but design. This shift from theory to trust is the true initiation, because once you cross it, you cannot go back. You can no longer live as if the world is dead matter, as if your thoughts are private, as if your choices are isolated. You know now that you are entangled with everything, that every action reverberates, that every intention ripples, that every thought participates in creation. And with this knowing comes responsibility, not the heavy burden of trying to control everything, but the sacred responsibility of presence, of tending to your frequency, of living as one who knows the field is listening. It is like waking from a long dream of separation. For so long you believed you were a single figure, moving through an indifferent universe, and now you realize the universe has been moving with you, within you. As you are not a guest in this reality. You are part of its fabric, its dreamer, and its dream. The moment you trust this fully, the loneliness dissolves, the striving softens, the fear loosens its grip. You are no longer navigating a hostile wilderness. You are in communion with an intelligent field that bends itself to meet your trust. And yet this is not a call to passivity. Trust is not about sitting still and waiting for life to happen. It is about stepping forward boldly, knowing the ground will appear beneath your feet. It is about acting not from fear but from alignment, not from desperation, but from resonance. It is about living as though the unseen is your greatest ally, because it is. When you act from that space, doors open before you knock, paths clear before you walk, solutions arrive before problems fully form. The quantum responds not to hesitation, but to coherence. And coherence is born of trust. This is why you are here, at this moment in time where the veil is thinner than ever, where synchronicity accelerates, where the old paradigms of certainty collapse. You are part of the shift not by force, but by embodiment. As you trust, you transmit. Others feel it. They may not have the language for it, but they sense it in your presence, in the calm with which you meet uncertainty, in the openness with which you walk through the unknown. You become a tuning fork for a new reality, one that does not collapse under fear but expands through trust. And this is your destiny, not to escape this world, but to transform it by remembering what it is made of. So let this be your initiation. Let yourself cross fully from theory into trust, from reading about truth to living it, from peering through the glass to stepping into the living field. Let yourself honor the weirdness as guidance, the synchronicity as confirmation, the unseen as ally. Let yourself embody the paradox, that when you stop demanding proof, proof floods your life in forms so abundant you cannot deny them. Let yourself remember that the field is not outside of you, it is you, dreaming yourself into form. The time of hesitation is over. The invitation has already been given. The only question now is whether you will answer it with your whole being. Step into the unseen not as a skeptic, not as a student, but as a participant, as a creator, as a being who has remembered the truth. This is not the end of your journey. It is the sacred beginning, the moment you cease to wait for miracles and realize you are the space through which miracles arrive. You are both the observer and the observed, the question and the answer, the dreamer and the dream. Trust this, and the weirdness will no longer confuse you. It will guide you into the destiny that has been waiting for you all along. And now, as you stand in this moment, let this not be just knowledge but initiation. Step fully into the field as if it has already chosen you, because it allow the weirdness to be your compass, the synchronicity to be your teacher, and the trust to be your power. This is not the end of your journey. It is the sacred beginning.